Hello, everyone, and welcome to Inside Leather History, a Fireside Chat. I'm Doug O'Keefe, the host and producer of the chats, which are a program of the Leather Archives and Museum. Today, I'm interviewing Martin Mayr in Austria. In which city are you located?
I'm living in Vienna.
In Vienna. Someday, yeah. I hope I will be able to go. Martin is Mr. Leather Austria and Mr. Fetish Austria from 2019 until 2022. That's a long time to hold a title. How did that happen for you?
Well, usually we elect Mr. Fetish Austria every year during Vienna Fetish Spring. And if the fetish guy is also a leather guy, he may also call himself Mr. Leather Austria, or may will be simultaneously awarded the second title, Mr. Leather Austria, yes. But in 2020, we were preparing to hold the elections, but because of the Corona developments, there was another lockdown and we were not able to hold Vienna Fetish Spring. And that same unfortunate situation was in 2021. And so we did not elect again. And so I'm the first Mr. Fetish Austria that had the title for 3 years only because of Corona. Now, during Vienna Fetish Spring 2022, we were able to hold the whole series of events and we elected a new Mr. So I just had my step down actually a month ago.
How did you feel about that?
Oh, I was very happy because once I believe that the new Mr. Fetish Austria, my sash son, Kilian, is a great person who has great outfits, great fetish approaches, and is a nice member of the community. And also having had the national title in Austria for 3 years, it has been a considerable responsibility also to be present at certain events in the community, to show the Austrian events at the most important European events and everything. And so having taken this seriously, I was also relieved that after 3 years, I'm finally free again to choose my private life and as I want to, because I'm not obliged to be at certain events, yeah. Or I do not feel, I mean, I was not legally obliged to be at certain events, but I felt that, the Austrian sash had to be at certain places, in certain places. And so I was traveling a lot due to that. And I'm happy if there is a fresh round of energy that is, taking their sash around and is, interacting with our community. I think that it's very important also that the community has a fresh face every year, just showing the diversity, the different kinksters that we have in our community, the different regions that we have in our community. And so that's why it's important that there's a fresh face every now and then, at least, ideally every year, yeah.
In 3 years of holding these titles, what do you feel was your greatest accomplishment?
Well, I mean, there is a specific role that is expected from the title holder, and that is to be present at certain places and to show the kinkster community to the public. And I think that I've been present at many events within the gay kinkster scene in Europe. So I think there's been a strong presence, but also within the gay media and general media in Austria. So I think I have succeeded in giving the gay leather scene, the gay kinkster scene in Austria, some visibility. Also because I'm not only in the gay leather scene, but I'm also, I'm also going to all the bear parties, and I sing in the Vienna Gay Men's Chorus. So I'm interactive in different parts of the communities, and I'm also a member of 2 gay rights organizations of Hose Vienna and Upper Austria. So I've been interacting and trying to bridge between different parts of our community. And I think that has been quite a successful time. I think I've been quite visible, yeah, in different parts of the gay community in Austria, especially.
As there are 2 different titles involved, what is the difference between these 2 titles?
Well, the thing is, it's important for us that our club is a multi-fetish location. Yeah, we own, as an association, the Leather and Motorbike Community Vienna. runs a club in Vienna, which is the Hard-On. In order for it to survive and flourish and do well, it is important that we have different parts of the gay Kingster community involved in this. So Leatherman alone is a too small fraction of the community to actually run a club successfully. So we need to deal with Rubberman. We need to deal with uniform men. We need to have the puppies around, fresh blood around. We need to have sports were fetish in the community, and only if we have all those guys involved, the community is finally big enough actually to survive. And that is true for our club in Vienna, and it's even much more true for the local communities where we have also fetish events like Linz or Salzburg or Graz, so the secondary cities of Austria, where the gay Kingster scene is even smaller. I mean, the European scene is structured in different ways. Not all of the gay fetish communities see themselves as multi-fetish communities. Most do nowadays, but the origins were all in the leather scene. So a lot of communities that now see themselves as multi-fetish clubs have all hold on to the title Mr. Leather something, Mr. Leather of their region. Whereas for us, we take Mr. Fetish as the main title, actually, focusing on the theme that we are a multi-fetish community.
I see. Let's take a step back, and I want to learn a little bit more about you. So tell us a little bit about where you're from and your family and your growing up.
Yes, with pleasure. I come from a small village in Upper Austria. My family has a business. It used to be a department store in the village with different types of goods being offered, like a small department store. So I grew up in a business, in an entrepreneurial family, going to a local school in my village, then to the school in the provincial town, to a local secondary school, then to a business high school. And then I was actually I was preparing to join the family business, but it turned out differently. I moved to Vienna to study and actually separated from the family business. Went to study in Shanghai, met my husband there, and eventually, despite traveling a lot internationally, also for business, we settled for good in Vienna. Yes.
What were you studying in Shanghai?
Business and Chinese, East Asian studies. Yes, I mean, my main studies were at the Vienna University of Economics and Business Administration and at the Vienna University. And I was an exchange student for 2 years at the Fudan University in Shanghai. But the titles I hold, the academic degrees that I hold, come from the Vienna University and the Vienna University of Economics.
Can you speak in Chinese?
Yes. In fact, I used it for my studies, obviously. I still use it for my work sometimes with clients. It's being used professionally. And I speak Chinese with my husband.
How fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely fascinating. I should think that's very rare in Vienna.
Well, for a gay couple that is biracial, for a white guy to speak Chinese in the relationship is probably not that frequent. Yes, I have a few colleagues from studies with Chinese partners that do the same, that have known the Chinese partners from living in China. And then once you're used to a language, you rarely switch. Yeah. So that's what has happened. It wasn't something that has been strategically planned or something. It was just we were living in China together for 2 years and then moved to Austria. So we didn't change how we spoke to each other.
Yes. I must say your English is fantastic. How did you learn English so well?
When I was 15, I was really bored in Austria in high school. And I decided I want to shorten it. So I decided to go to school, to apply for school in Canada, and thereby hoping to be able to shorten the school in Vienna, or in Austria, sorry. And so I was in school in Sault Ste. Marie for a year in Canada, in Northern Ontario, which was a fascinating experience, actually.
Why?
Well, because it's North America, it's a different surroundings, it's a different culture, a different type of interacting in society. It was different, but it was still in a small community, and this community was very welcoming to its foreign students, and so I was very well integrated into the local community there. Also in a chorus, in a choir, in a church choir actually. So that was fun, but I wasn't out then yet. I was 16 years when I got there, 17 years 16 years, yeah. And I wasn't out, but it was an interesting experience just to live in a different country and to live with a different family for a year in a different school system, of course. And then it was challenging to come back to Austria, because at that point of time, I was the first foreign exchange student that left my school in Austria and came back to the school then. And they said I can only move back to my old class and really jump the school year that I missed if I do a test in all the subjects that have been taught. So I had to do a test of all the subjects that have been taught in Austria in the following summer and pass all those exams in order to be able to move back to my school. So it was hard work as well, but I was very motivated because I felt bored in school. Yeah. So
yes. Let's talk about your early sexual exploration. How did you realize you were gay? How did you come out?
Well, it wasn't early. I was late. Yeah. I was late. Somehow all the girls that approached me were never right and never worked out. I never tried. It was always a avoiding topic. And I had my coming out again in North America, actually. I had worked in a different fashion company in Germany for a year after high school graduation, and I was already 21 years old. And I was traveling for 2 months in North America, just exploring different retail stores and retail concepts and whatnot. And during this time, I went back to stay with friends who I knew from being in high school in Canada. And those friends were then living in Montreal. And it was, and some of this journey has opened me up in my personal views and life and everything. And after having traveled for 3 or 4 weeks in North America, and then arriving in Montreal on the first evening, I had this chat with my friends from Canadian high school, and they were asking me, how has your private life evolved since you were in Sault Ste. Marie as a high school student, then with 16, and how are you doing now, and do you have a girlfriend? And I was already a little bit tipsy, and I was going, well, no, I don't have a girlfriend, and I'm not even sure what I'm into girls that much. And the friend there was just saying, oh, that's really very interesting. Let's take you to a gay bar tomorrow and find out. And that was it. I was in heaven. Yes. So that was very nice.
Tell me a little bit about the gay scene you experienced in Montreal.
Well, it was I was there for 2 or 3 nights just. I was part of the stay there, and I was impressed by this feeling of being in a gay village, because it was different gay bars all next to each other, gay shops, gay cafes, and so we're going there in the evening, and I had this wonderful hot chocolate with a lot of whipped cream on top, which was very nice. And I was just watching the guys walking by, and then we had dinner, and then I was already very excited to go to a disco at night. And by then I was already very clear that I just liked what I saw on the street. And then I asked my friends to excuse myself because I was going on the dance floor alone, and I started to kiss and make out a little bit with a guy on the dance floor. Charles, yeah, he was only speaking French, very nice in Montreal. So it was a very exciting time for me, of course. The first day of my gay life, basically, yeah. And this feeling of being in a gay village where basically everyone in the street is gay was, of course, something that is very special. And we have something like this in Vienna today, but it's very intermixed with Vienna's largest market, actually. So not everybody is gay. There's just a lot of people on the street, and the fraction of it or a part of it is gay. But we don't have a gay village where you say everybody on the street is basically gay. Yeah.
How did you begin to explore and learn about leather and kink?
Well, that happened much later in the life of my husband and I. I mean, I've been together with my husband now for 22 years, and we have been after we moved to Europe, we have been traveling extensively, and we also went to gay bars and gay sex clubs and everything. And I remember there was we've been to also to our club, which was then in a different location and was already mixed with fetish people, with fisting people and everything. We've been to different events, but mostly to events where they had no strict dress code. And then one of the key times that I remember together with my husband is we were traveling in Scandinavia, in Stockholm, yes, more than 10 years ago. And we have been to we were trying to go out and we said, okay, this is interesting. There is this, on the internet, it was advised as well, it seemed like a sex party or a disco party with a back room, whatever. And we were there at the door and we found out we can't get in. And we said, okay, what do you have to do to get in? And so you have to, the guys are saying, you have to wear leather. Yeah, no, if you don't wear the right gear, you're not going to go in. and that was actually a time when we said, okay, I don't like the idea of not being able to go into some places, especially not if the place is fun and if the place is hot. So so we said, okay, if you need certain gear to go into certain places, then we have to get the right gear, you know. And then gradually we got more and more interested into different types of gear and leather and latex, most of all, yeah. Those are the things that are just interesting also from a sexual point of view, yeah, and that just look good and make you feel sexy. So we got more and more of that. But the first step was traveling, not being allowed to go into a bar. We wanted to go in, and then we said, okay, that can't happen again. We need to go into the places we want to go in.
Tell me more about it, though. What feelings did you have? How did it grow for you?
Well, it was experimenting. It was really that we have been more to the gay night of our club. Actually, it was just a place where the naked night. It came from the naked events, actually, most of all, where there was also most people and most fucking going on, and then just realizing, okay, on other evenings Sunday was naked night, but on other evenings it's different dress codes, and so we were getting we're just getting more and more intrigued by those different dress codes, and we just tried it out and found that leather and latex are the stories that I personally find most interesting and sexiest. Yeah, I mean, my husband is also very much like some sportswear and just different styles and costume parties and whatnot. But for me, it's leather and latex that is most interesting.
What feelings does it give you?
Leather has a tendency of giving me confidence and also making me feel sexy and attractive. It's just a very manly material, but at the same time, it's caressing your skin. So this is something that is that I find interesting and also sort of arousing. Rubber latex is a different feeling. When I'm wearing rubber, I start with wearing it when I shower, so I'm already wet when I shower. You know, when I wear it, and then I need to wear something over to drive the car or to go places, because I start sweating right away, even if it's not that hot, you know. And so I usually only wear it for specific parties. And with rubber, it feels different. I don't feel like it makes me look that sexy or masculine or so. I just feel very aroused by the fact that I'm constantly sweating, and I have this aura of sweat and this second skin that is floating on me, and I feel much more sleazier and in a playing mode when I wear rubber, actually, compared to leather. I mean, I can wear leather also to social events and without, and it just makes me feel good and nice and sexy somehow, without necessarily being horny. Yeah. But with latex, it's a different story. I'm constantly I'm constantly sweating, and usually when I wear latex for a longer period of time, it's also leaking somewhere, the whole sweat the situation, and it's a horny feeling. Yeah, so it's very erotic. I find latex even more playful than leather, I would say. And leather is also something that you can wear for traveling, and also for social events without necessarily feeling horny. But I just find it a very attractive and pleasing material. Yeah.
Now, as you were exploring the leather and kink community, what did you discover? Was there anything exciting, anything shocking?
Well, I still keep exploring. it's still a development that is going on. I mean, there are many things that are changing and that are discovered new in the last in the period of the last 10 years. I mean, there is this thing about, for example, breathing, breath control, masks, and poppers, for example, that can change your mind quite a bit. There is I've experienced some things of giving control to other people by for example being bondaged, or for example a very a very deep and intriguing experience with being sounded, for example. That's also something that and only after and it was during a session where I was experiencing also breath control and bondage, and in combination with sounding, and I didn't know what was happening to me. I just found it very extreme and intriguing and fascinating, and so I was only learning after the session what really was done to me and my cock and everything. But that's something where relationships matter a lot. That's something you cannot do with just anybody. That's something where you have to, if you give up control and trust somebody to play with you in a way that you give control to the other person, that's an area where you need a lot of trust into this person, especially when you go to not only bondage, but you add breath control and masks and everything to it, and then go on to sounding in an area where you yourself can actually neither speak nor move much, because you're under a mask and you're bondaged. So, and then you can only discuss the experience after the session is over. So that is something very deep, when you take control of somebody, or you're giving up control completely to somebody else. That's a wholly different level. Yeah. And then something that I've also discovered, and then of course there's the normal play where just say you are in leather and or in latex and you play with of course with the gear on, and just take the zipper down and so on. That's also something that is of course different from completely undressing and being naked. Of course, it's a different experience, a different type of play, which is intriguing and interesting, but not as much, of course, as having in a role play where you give up control or take control. And something that I discovered only 2.5 years ago, so quite recently, is the topic of fisting, and where I've not been only on rare occasions being a fisting top, but after I was fisted for the first time, I discovered that this is something that I find very can be very pleasing and very interesting and intriguing. And since 2.5 years since I've been fisted for the first time, I play it very regularly, so at least once a week. And that's something that is a very important part of my sex life today. However, I don't wear more than a harness and maybe a chalk strap for that. I don't wear. It's not something where I wear my best leather and just open the zip and then let the Crisco run over my leather. That's not something that I do.
What pleasure does that afford you?
It is a different type of play, because you need to trust the person more for this, and you need to open yourself up much more than when you're just being fucked or when you give a blowjob or something. It goes deeper, it goes wider. It takes more time to play, and it's a degree of intensity that you can't reach with fucking. Yeah, no, it's just a different type of experience, and I think it's very hard to describe when you've not experienced it yourself. I remember that when I saw it for the first time, like 15 or 20 years ago in our previous club, I was extremely shocked, and I thought, okay, I saw a guy punching in a hole, and I thought, and it seemed like this is never going to be for me. You know, this is too extreme, too weird, too strange. Is it even sexual, and so on? And it's actually, you got to try everything to be able to say, is it for you or is it not? And I just found out after a long time, I just found out that this is something that I actually like, and that I discovered later than many other things. But it is more intimate. It goes deeper. And for the first couple of weeks after I've had the first experience, this was, I want to get fisted all the time. I just but I can happily say I can still enjoy also other types of play, but fisting is something very special. Yeah.
Tell me about the leather kink scene in Vienna. If I come there to visit Vienna, what could I see? What could I expect?
Well, there is different clubs, and then there's different parties that are in different locations. As for the clubs, we have the main fetish club in Vienna that also has a strict dress code on every Saturday, is the club that is run by our leather and motorbike community. It's called Hardon. And there usually on Friday, there is an easy dress code. On Saturday, there's a strict dress code, so you must follow the theme, the dress code. And usually Sunday is naked, yeah, or dressless, yeah, whatever. And that can be a chalk strip or leather shorts, for example. Yeah. So that's one club, and then there is events that our organization does, like Vienna Fetish Spring and in spring, and Vienna in Black in autumn. Or then there's some special events also for Gay Pride. In addition, there is 3 other clubs that are fetish friendly, that also have both the bar where you can drink and a back room where you can play. And those 3 other clubs are called the Eagle, the Sling, and F56. Yeah, the Eagle being the oldest of those bars and being a traditional leather bar that used to have a strict dress code, but it doesn't anymore for the past 15 years or even longer. Yeah, so leather is appreciated there. If somebody wears it, it's nice, but most people don't wear it. Yeah, 95% of people who go there wear jeans and whatnot, and don't just go to drink and chat, and then eventually go to the back room and relieve themselves from play. But there's no kinky sex going on there. It's just regular. Yeah, it's more or less plain vanilla what is happening there. Yeah. Then there is the Sling. As suggested, there are slings in this place, and it's a small bar with a big back room, and people go there it's mostly plain vanilla what is going on in terms of playing there, except for Naked Sunday, and that's usually a party where every second week it's simply naked. Every other week it is naked with mask. In terms of playing, it is sort of plain vanilla, but it is usually happening somehow in crowds. Yeah, it tends to be rather sweaty, and it tends to be group fun. Yeah, lots of things going on. It's pretty wild. It can be pretty wild on especially in the Sunday naked parties. Yeah. And the third and the fourth bar, I mean, there's Hardon, the Eagle, Sling, and the fourth bar is F56. F standing for the street name of the location, but more importantly, standing for the fist. So it's actually the biggest of those play clubs, and its specialty is fisting. There is also a lot of maybe half of the people who are there are into fisting, and half to plain vanilla fun. Yeah, so it is mixed, but it's a club that is specialized on fisting, and every now and then they have those fisting festivals, which they call the fist weekends, and that's usually weekends where then happening, I think, 4 times per year. And there is also more people than coming internationally to fist play in Vienna, because there's not that many fisting clubs across Europe that really focus and specialize in fisting. Yeah. In Vienna, with some large festivals like Vienna Fetish Spring, Gay Pride, Vienna in Black, those fist weekends, or also the bear events, Pitbull. At those events, usually you always have larger crowds of people from our neighboring country, because from Vienna you can reach the border of Czechia, Slovakia, and Hungary all within 1 hour. In that part of the Czech Republic and in the west of Hungary, you don't have any kinky clubs. In fact, in Hungary, you don't have any kinky clubs in the whole country. Yeah, and also in Slovakia, in Bratislava is right just 1 hour from Vienna, the Slovak capital. There is not that much going on. There is one gay sauna, but there is no kinky clubs. So people have to come to Vienna to play if they want to. So you'll see a lot of Eastern European boys also at those events in Vienna. So, you know, the people you see in those Bellamy movies or whatnot. So thanks to this geographic location and this closeness of those three borders, you have different people that come to play every weekend in Vienna, and especially at those events. So it's four gay clubs that are fetish or fetish friendly with backrooms that you can choose from in Vienna, and then there is different parties, and then there is also a choice of gay saunas. There is 4 gay saunas in Vienna, and then there is additional places like you have it in all large cities, like gay movie theaters or straight movie theaters that have a men only night, a gay night, or there's a bisexual sauna, whatnot. There's quite a lot of offers in terms of playing in Vienna, yeah. And one of those saunas is probably worth introducing. I mean, there's a smaller sauna in the gay area that is a very good place to go if you're still horny after one of those bars have closed, because it has 24 hours open on the weekend. It's the Römer sauna. That's a nice place to go. But there is one sauna that is very special, and it's called the Kaiserbründel. And it's translated into English, it would be the Imperial Spring Bath, yeah. And the Imperial Spring Bath used to be the central bath of the old town of Vienna. It's close to the cathedral. 400 years ago, it was the bath of the Persian embassy to the Austrian Empire. So parts of that bath are 400 years old. In fact, the temple is. And it used to be a gay bath where already military officers were going before World War I, and where also the brother of the late Austrian emperor used to go, Archduke Ludwig, who was gay, and he was trying and sometimes succeeding, sometimes not, trying to get sex with military officers and other attractive men who were there in this place. So it has been used for gay sex already in imperial times for over 100 years ago. However, at that point of time, gay sex in Austria was still illegal. So the activities of Archduke Ludwig of the brother of the emperor, caused a substantial scandal in the high society, and that eventually led to Archduke Ludwig being expelled from Vienna. I mean, not being put in prison, but he was expelled to Vienna, to some castle, whatever. Yeah, but he was not allowed to go to Vienna anymore because there was too much scandal about his homosexuality, his approaches to other men in public places, and gay sex in public places and whatnot. So it has been a gay bath for a long, long time. And it is today a gay bath with about 1,500 square meters. So it's a large facility. You could compare it in North America, maybe to Steamworks in Toronto, something like this. There's nothing, yeah, or something to, or I think there's a large gay sauna in Fort Lauderdale that is similar in space. Yeah, that is also big. Yeah, but it doesn't have the special imperial architecture, and you know, it's like a temple, it's like a castle, it's like a palace type of building, but with steam rooms, with private rooms, with playrooms and everything. So I think for a tourist, for a gay tourist, it's a must-see type of thing. Yeah, the Imperial Bath. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at your contests. Why did you choose to compete?
For the fun of it. I mean, my husband and I like to travel a lot, and we have been, getting more and more into the Kinkster community, knowing more and more people, and then it was at some party in 2018. It was a rather spontaneous decision to run for it, and it was not a well prepared campaign, because even during the election campaign where I missed two parties in Linz and Innsbruck in 2018 when I was running first time for the title, and then eventually ended up even by a slight margin winning the vote in Vienna, but losing the vote countrywide to Dries, who then become Mr. Rubber Europe by a very small margin. And then I wanted to wait actually, but it happened that in 2019, in the following year, there was only one candidate. And so different people from the club approached me and said I should run again. And then eventually my husband also said I should run again. And then I decided to run again, and I won by a big majority. Yeah, but the motivation was mainly the community and the many people in the community who asked me to, who thought I should run for it, who told me, why don't you run as candidate? You would be good in this. Yeah. And because my husband and I like to travel a lot, it's a very good fit actually. I mean, it's when you like to travel to leather events and to fetish events, having the title and having this VIP status that goes with having the title is something very nice and enjoyable, at least for a certain period of time, because when you do it for a very long time, it also becomes an obligation. But when you do it for a couple of events, like for 1 year, then it's a great thing to do. But we have been extremely busy, especially in the first year until Corona started.
Yeah. Now, what do you feel was your greatest achievement as a title holder?
I think to help the local communities in places like Linz and Salzburg to establish their fetish events, yeah, and have them grow, yeah. Especially in Salzburg, we had very nice parades, and also the strong presence in the media. In Austria, I was in different in all the different gay magazines with interviews and stories and stories that I wrote about fetish travel and everything, and also in the radio and even in national television in Austria's biggest talk show. Yeah. Oh. So I think it's just a general a strong presence. I think it has helped some people to be more to discover their kinks also. Yeah. I think it's important to have this type of role model and this public figure that you can also see, because our club, there is no photos from our club. Inside the club, you at the entrance, you deposit your phone. You're not allowed to use a phone inside, because people at the bar in this whole safe space that it is can play everywhere, and they can be sure that there is no photos. Yeah. So actually, people don't, when they're interested in the gay fetish and the gay fetish scene in Austria, they don't have a lot to look at. Yeah, there's not a lot in social media. There's only the gay pride parades and so on, where people are marching in leather, but people actually don't have a lot of insight of what is happening inside the clubs, because there's no photos, no reports from inside the clubs. And so I think it's important to have Mr. Fetish there as a public figure to somehow be approachable and be known, and to have interviews, to somehow be readable, and also to be a person that you can find on social media, that you can approach also and chat to, because you won't find pictures about the event.
Now, you've mentioned you've extensively traveled and a lot of events, a lot of places. Tell me more about that. What are some of the big events or places you've been able to visit?
The thing is that the traveling is focused on the partner clubs that we have within the European Confederation of Motorcycle Clubs. So that's the most important international organization where we are members. And so we tend to visit those partner clubs. Yeah. The biggest events that I've been to as Mr. Fetish were Berlin, so Folsom Europe Street Fair, and all the events and parties that go on there, and Darklands in Antwerp. So those are the two biggest fetish events in Europe that are happening. Yes. And then I've also been at World Pride in New York. That was in 2019, shortly after I've been elected. And also, in that year we had Euro Pride in Vienna. So I was immediately after my election. It was a big event in Vienna, and I was immediately host after my election to all the Kingsters that were coming and the many misters that we had in Vienna in that year, because it was Euro Pride. Then I was a candidate at the annual general meeting of the European Confederation of Motorcycle Clubs, where Mr. Leather Europe is being elected every year. So I was at Mr. Leather Europe election. In that year, it was in Rome. Yeah. That was not so big as an event, but it's an important event. It's something where Mr. Fetish Austria, if Mr. Fetish Austria is also a leatherman and thus also has the title Mr. Leather Austria, is expected to be. So at the election of Mr. Leather Europe, and it's also a place where different clubs of Europe are meeting. Yeah. Then there was I've also been at the annual meeting of the German Language Association of gay Kingster clubs, which is called the Leather and Fetish Community. In that year, it was in Munich. The board of the club actually entrusted me to represent the Austrian club there in that year, and that was also a nice and important meeting. Yeah, and then I've been to many smaller meetings that were some at member clubs of the ECMC and some at other clubs that are not yet members of the ECMC. Yeah. And that was spread across Europe. So it was in France, in Spain, 3 times in Germany. It was in Scandinavia also, in Italy, different locations. Yeah. And then another trip that we did outside of Europe, in addition to World Pride New York, was the largest gay pride in Asia, which is happening every year in Taiwan Pride. Yeah. And we've been there, and that was actually right after I've been elected. Those guys were getting in touch with us and were asking, do we want to go there? And it was rubber guys. Yeah. So in Taiwan, we have not taken any leather except for one pair of leather shorts. Yeah. But we have been all the time for a week in Taiwan in rubber, and that was a lot of fun too. Yeah.
When we prepared for this interview, you told me that your participation in Mr. Leather Europe was expected, and that IML in Chicago was, optional. Tell me about your thoughts about the differences you experienced between the contests in Europe and your participation at IML.
Well, it's a very different type of contest. I mean, first of all, the European contest is only open to title holders if the clubs are members of the European Confederation of Motorcycle Clubs. So in my years, it was only under apostrophe, only 8 candidates at Mr. Leather Europe. And I needed to practice a lot because there was the expectation you need to do a performance on stage. Yeah, there were interviews plus a stage performance. So I was singing an Italian opera aria, and that took a lot of preparation for this, of course. Yeah, and then there were the interviews, but it was all in a much smaller format compared to IML. It was one round of interviews, one election party where there were the presentations, then there was the voting, the counting, and that's it. Yeah. So a much smaller venue. It was I think the election party was maybe 200 people, something like this. Yeah. So all and all having dinner. It was a dinner party. Yes. So including with a very, and also previously the other events were always combined with having either coffee, lunch, or dinner, plus then a party and so on. So and plus cultural events being done together. Yeah. And of course there was the AGM, but as a candidate, I was not at the AGM. The AGM, the annual general meeting of the European clubs, was something where the presidents or the delegates to those meetings were discussing things, whatever needed to be coordinated at a European level. Yeah. So it's a much smaller format. I mean, Chicago is, every title holder can go there. The club does not have to be a member of any association or something. So in Chicago, it was 60 candidates. I mean, that itself, and it was, I think in this theater, there was maybe 2,000-3,000 people watching it. So it's a professional type of entertainment show, much more preparations, but at the same time, no individual performances being delivered, except for walking there on the stage and making a very short statement, So a very different type of experience, In you could say the election of Mr. Leather Europe, it only matters, are you winning or not? Yeah, that's basically it. Whereas Chicago is a very different type of concept, because in Chicago, all the candidates at the beginning of the events become members of the Brotherhood of Leather and receive the membership medals. And so even if you are Mr. Leather Austria, Mr. Fetish Austria, it is a very nice thing to go to Chicago, experience this ceremony where you become member of the Brotherhood, receive the medal that you can then later have as a symbol that you have once been some title holder and an insider in the leather scene, and that is recognizable across the world. We don't have a symbol like this medal from the Mr. Leather Europe election. There's no visible sign that you have participated, or no sign of, or no insignia of membership, or nothing that is recognized across the world symbolizing this. So that's the big difference. I think
the differences between the European contests and IML, as you were saying, are very, very, very strong. What advice can you afford someone who wants to compete in Europe and someone who wants to compete at IML?
Well, I think for both events, it is important to prepare. But the things that are expected or how it goes is very, very different. I mean, in Europe, it's this performance, whereas the rules may again be different from location to location. And I only learned when I was competing there right at the event, and the performance can also be a speech. So if you're not a dancer, a professional singer or something, and you actually feel more comfortable delivering a speech, then that's what you may or should do actually, and you don't need to force yourself into performance that you may not want or do or feel comfortable with. I mean, I was comfortable with singing because I was anyways in the Vienna Gay Men's chorus, so it was not strange. But actually, the winner and the second place person were giving speeches, and I'm very used to giving speeches, so it would have been an option worth exploring. And for IML, I understand it's very important to also prepare the speech. That's an important thing. But it would also, I mean, if you want to participate and show presence, but also be part of the top 20 and so on, then you would actually need to prepare for the stage presence. You would actually need to prepare some type of choreography, some type of walk, some type of way of, I don't know, showing your butt and wiggle or whatever, some type of choreography anyways, which I didn't. But the question is also, if you go there from Europe, do you want to you want to participate or do you really want to win? Yeah, that's also another question. Yeah. And that's something that each participant has to answer for him or herself as well before going there. And then the question is how much of effort do you want to put into? Do you want to just collect the metal, become part of the brotherhood, or do you actually want to win the thing? And if you actually want to win the thing, you must really analyze the whole event very carefully, starting with the CVs of all the interviewers, of all the people and the judging, starting with the details of how the event goes, starting with the choreography, starting with maybe even outfit changes or flips on the stage and things like this. Yeah, preparation is very important, but one can never plan to win or to good in such an event, because you have to bear in mind that both at the European election and at the election at IML, it is only title holders who compete there. So it is only people who have won in their local community already. So I mean, it's not you're not competing against nobodies there. So, and there is a lot of other people who will want to win actually too. Yes, and maybe other contestants who already hold sympathies with judges or the audience or whatever. Yeah, and in Europe, the tradition is that also the audience plays a major factor in the election of Mr. Leather Europe, which is not the case in Chicago. Yes, so in Europe, this is also one of the issues in the European election, that the audience is a key factor. Yes, and if you and naturally, if you're very familiar with the audience, chances are different from not knowing anybody in the audience, of course. Yeah.
Yes, because in Europe, the people vote with a ticket in a bucket. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. And the jury is only part of it. And then at IML, there is no public vote. I understand it's all a jury decision. Yeah.
What are your future plans in the community?
Well, I've not made very specific plans, I must be honest. Yeah, I don't have a goal in the community. But then Austria is a very small gay community, and it's an even smaller gay Kinkster community. So you cannot avoid meeting everybody and seeing everybody. But those past 3 years have also been a time when I was very much in the center, sometimes alone, sometimes together with my husband. But my husband is an artist, and he was used to being very much the center of attention before I became Mr. And he likes to be the center of attention. And we focused also on our travels very much, not just, we didn't focus all our travels previously on gay Kinkster events. Some yes, but not all. And we were often traveling to art exhibitions and events and so on. And I think in our relationship, it is important that he gets more room again. And that we also have more time for art and these experiences, and maybe even for things that are going on with the gay chorus. I don't want to go on in the same intensity as in the past 3 years. You know, we have other things as well. We have family, we have the gay chorus, we have the art life of my husband. So all of the things also need room. But let's see how the situation evolves. I still enjoy going to different events in Austria and internationally. The next event where my husband and I specifically go to is actually Europride in Belgrade that we have planned, and then we are planning to go to fetishing Maspalomas Fetish Week in Gran Canaria. And we will also go in October to the Swiss elections, where I will be in the jury. So that's going to happen in Basel in October, the election of Mr. Rubber, Mr. Leather, and Mr. Puppy Switzerland. I have the honor to be in the jury. So I keep being active in the community. I mean, in September, we decided that it is more important for us to support Europride in Belgrade in Southeastern Europe, where Europride is happening for the first time. Because it's, I mean, Serbia is not a country that is very liberal and open and supportive of the gay community. So I think it's more important to raise the flag there than in Berlin. And it's happening on the same weekend as Folsom Europe. So we won't be at Folsom Europe this year, but rather support Europride in Belgrade. So we keep on being active, but the intensity is reduced to those 3 years of being national title holder. It's also I think it's also good that I'm not there at all the events, because the new title holder, Masesh Sankilian, he needs room. It's his stage now. It's his it's his audience now, where he is the mister. So I definitely need to leave the stage to him, and then let's see what is happening in the community. I'm not. We enjoy also going to the bear community. We also interact with different parts of the gay community, and there are things to be done. I mean, there's always interactions between the different people in the community. There is always discussions ongoing, and in all those things, I try to have a productive role. But I'm not aiming for any big formal role in the near future. Let's put it this way.
What's the biggest misconception about you?
Hard to tell. I mean, Austria is it's a very small community. You know, everybody knows everybody, and as gay kinksters, you meet again and again. So I mean, I have a feeling that the people who I see regularly get a more and more accurate picture. So I don't think that there is a general misconception that is existing in the community. The beauty of being in a small community is that you meet people again and again. It's not, you don't just meet twice in a life, you meet many times. So I don't think there is a big general misconception. One thing that is always interesting is there's always this thing about the title holder being approachable or not, and something that if somebody has a title, the person has to be nosy and has to be has to consider himself more important or something. But that's of course not true and bullshit. We are in a very small community, so where everybody knows everybody, and I'm just as approachable as many and any other leather guy. Actually, I tried to even when and especially when I was a title holder with the sash, I was trying to greet and welcome absolutely everybody that entered our club, and try to talk to everybody, and also try to focus on if there is new people in the club, to approach those and to introduce them and whatnot. So I think this general idea that sometimes title holders are remote and not approachable or something like this is it's important that this is not the case, and it's important that the title holder is an integrative person that is approaching everyone, talking to everyone. But I think in a very small community like Austria, there is not a big chance for misconceptions. You meet so many times, you get to know each other, whether you want it or not.
Martin, I would like to thank you very much for this amazing interview, for Inside Leather History, a Fireside Chat.
You're very welcome. It has been a great pleasure. Yes, I hope that it's helpful for some people who maybe can think about traveling to Austria. If anybody has questions, you can find me still on Facebook and Instagram as Mr. Fetish Austria 2019. So if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them, both for people who may live in Austria or think about traveling here. You can approach me all the time. It was a great pleasure.
Thank you.